Hello, welcome to the Daily Telegraph NRL Podcast. Whether you're listening through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or newly online on YouTube with our YouTube channel. Adam Mobbs here with Phil Buzz Rothfield and the Gronk, Michael Carianis. How are you, mate?
Oh, well, Adam. How are you?
I've actually got an announcement to make. I'm going to butt in here.
Oh, there's a shock.
Surprise.
Yeah, my podcast is now a Jerome Luai free zone. That is the last mention. I went to the trouble of looking up the definition of a Gronk. Right? It says it is an extremely derogatory term for a person less intelligent than oneself. I don't like it. He's banned from my podcast. If we are to refer to the Penrith 5-8 again, like the fact he's had to withdraw from this match against Manly, we just call him the New South Wales State of Origin discard. That okay?
No, I'm still going to call him Jerome Luai.
Well, no, it's my pod. You can't. You can't.
Well, it's been an eventful few days, Mobbsy.
You can't cop that sort of nonsense.
You loved it last week. You loved it all weekend. You got great enjoyment out of it. Finally, you weren't under the heat and the...
Well, it's nice to share the heat around with you.
I'm glad to help.
But look, I'm not pissing your pocket. The world's nicest bloke, and you're not a Gronk.
Oh, thanks, Buzzy.
You're not into combat.
No, that's the way the whole thing was sort of spiraled out of control a little bit.
Didn't
because
it
was never
escalate?
as I said from the beginning, it was never my intent to cause an issue, but obviously it did.
But you came from...
He's got a few social followers, and he whacked it up there. And
I don't actually mind it. I actually don't mind the fact that he had his go. No, I don't mind that he had his go back because that's his prerogative, right? And I actually haven't had a go at him yet at all.
No.
You know.
When are you going to return serve?
But I'm not. I don't have an issue. Why would I return serve for? I don't have an issue.
But the whole thing at the start,
You've been called a Gronk.
You didn't come from a negative place. You were kind of trying to deliver some advice and saying
you
that...
did call him a dickhead.
I didn't.
No.
Stop saying that. I didn't.
You asked him why you behaved like a dickhead.
Yeah.
But why put himself under pressure in that regard when...
Yeah, I might not. I could have
It
just
didn't
said
come
that.
across... And a lot of people have said it didn't come across the right way, what was said, what was posted on his Instagram channel at the time. So... I don't think it came from a negative place. I think they've got you totally out of character there,
that's
Mick.
Fine. It's
You're one of these only publicity's good publicity.
It's put me on the map a
people,
little
eh?
bit, Buzz.
Yeah.
Not the way I wanted to go, but that's fine. Like as I said, I've got no issue. If
What
I
are
see
the
him at a game,
punters saying? Have you got any punter support?
minimal.
It's about
So they're on the Origin
what did we say,
discard
70-30?
side, are they?
Or was it
Yeah,
gone
it's
swung
probably-
even
It's
further?
probably 80-20 now. No, it's been a bit of a hammering. But as I said, that's fine. Like I said it, so I've got no issue, and I still don't have an issue with Jerome. So,
But you're on my Christmas cards, mate. You're top
I
of
finally
them.
made it.
Michael Carianis and Origin discard.
yeah. So
I used to
anyway.
have a little sign up in my column at UFC free zone.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way I'm treating it from here on. I'm
Fair.
here for you, Mick.
Oh, thank you, Buzz.
And I'm not enjoying it either.
You're now being recorded, so we can see your face when you say that. So.
I saw that. I wasn't happy with that facial expression when I was laughing at you being on.
Anyway, let's go.
Okay,
Let's move
well,
on.
there's something I want to take you to task on, Michael, and
Oh, that's unusual. You're taking some.
your performance on SEN this morning.
Oh.
Can we discuss this? Just for anyone who missed it, Michael does a regular cross into Vossi and Brandy, and they actually mentioned the Penrith Panthers injured 5'8" and your spat this
I
morning.
asked Brandy if he could be the mediator. He ran a mile.
Oh, didn't he? He just went, no, you two can sort it out.
yeah.
Rock solid, Brandy.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
I got a ring
SEN
Brandy.
and NRL Fox League colleagues and didn't want a bar of helping you, did he?
No.
I got a ring Brandy myself today, and I'm not sure he's going to pick up because we questioned him quite heavily after the Origin series when he was at home, and he didn't take too kindly
Well,
to.
he's been off to Spain, hasn't he? He's had a
That's
nice
He's
what
holiday.
I'm ringing
He's
about.
recharged.
I'm
Right.
ringing him about
He's recharged.
his holiday.
His
but
club's about to go on a three-peat. He can't be too upset, can he?
you would not think so. I wasn't listening this morning.
So
I'm a Ben Fordham man.
Are you?
Yeah. He had a terrific story this morning. You know that poor Bill Spedding, the guy who was accused, the William Till. He was put in jail for a historic crime too, but never was. And he sued he got $1.5 million off, but then the government lawyers appealed it. Then he had to go back through. It was terrible.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're a rugby
nice
league podcast. I just want to explain why I was listening to Ben.
Well, on SEN this morning,
Yeah.
Michael, what do they say in show business? Never work with kids or animals. You were doing both.
Or a wife. Because, like, honestly, my dear wife forgets what I do sometimes for work, I think. Because I've got the early morning cross and I leave the bedroom and usually go upstairs or go to another room so it's quieter. But Clara, my wife, kept bringing our now 1-year-old, Elena, to any room I was going. She kept following me and I'm like, what are you doing? And she's babbling in the background and then she's babbling, the dog starts barking and it was mayhem.
Mate.
That's my mornings every morning. It's a bit chaotic.
Why don't you go outside and do it in the car?
It's freezing.
Put your heater on.
It's
Can
freezing.
I tell you a true story?
Yeah.
I was doing radio earlier this year, and my wife just saw us, and she stuck her head into my room. She said, "Don't forget the toilet paper." I swear, and the eye drops when I was at Woolies. True story. It's going like this.
Oh, no, you're doing these ones, yes.
Oh.
I know.
We're nearly already over our 80% gibber.
Yeah. Well, we want to start enlightened.
It was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is bad. It is embarrassing.
No, that was very amusing this morning,
I'm
Michael.
glad you found it amusing. I'm like, it is
It's hard
a little
work,
bit.
isn't it?
Oh, yeah. What happens when you have 27 different gigs?
Get a study and soundproof it with a lock on it.
I do need a lock in my office.
All righto. Well, let's get into footy because Thursday night, Seagulls Panthers. I'll tell you what, there's outside of what Broncos, Eels, and the Raiders Storm game, there's not a lot of top 8 v top 8 teams going head to head this weekend. But for some reason, Tony Mestrov thinks the Seagulls are still a hope for the finals. They're going to go all guns blazing against the Panthers, who will be without an injured 5'8" and Mitch Kenny. So
Say his name.
No,
This is silly.
I will see my producer and get it cut out.
get the bleep button.
Well, they're still in a hope, Manly. Like, I don't think they make the 8, right?
I hope to beat, even without Luai and Kenny. They're not
but-
beating Penrith
no,
tonight, are they?
I don't know. I don't think they will beat Penrith, but there's still a hope of making the top 8, and they need to win tonight. So that's the optimism or the hope.
They're not making the 8.
No, I agree. No, I agree.
They're no hope.
I agree. I'm just saying.
Are you saying mathematically?
No, not even yet, because they can probably lose this week and still be a mathematical chance.
Mm.
But
yeah.
they don't make the 8, and I think Penrith belt them.
It's interesting you say there's not a lot of finals bearing games this week. The Matildas are destroying other sports. Just media exposure, wall to wall, and also this silly media ban still going on. Hopefully, they've made progress at talks yesterday, so that'll happen. But they're so gigantic, this World Cup story.
Talk about media bans, though. The Matildas barely give you access to players.
Yeah, I know.
So, do you know what we're talking about here, Mick?
I do.
Do you watch the Matildas?
I watched a bit on Monday, yeah, because there was no footy on. As I said, if the footy's on, I'm watching the footy, and I'm flicking.
Listen,
What?
5 o'clock
I'll be working.
Saturday afternoon.
I'll be working.
Well, can I suggest you download 7 Plus on your phone while you're sideline eye? Kennedy Sherrington's got some time up her sleeve at the moment too. She can cover for you. Watch the game.
No, I'll be flicking on scores while I.
What's it clash with? What game?
The 5:30 game. I'm not sure. I'm at the 7:30 Dolphins.
Oh, well,
Roosters
you
game.
can watch it.
I can, but I have to get to a venue.
Tigers Warriors.
Tigers Warriors.
Yeah, I know what I'll be watching.
Tigers Warriors.
Not a chance. Love the Matildas.
Yeah. Well, let's. So
That Manly game, though, you're talking about, they've got to win, don't they, or they're gone. They were dreadful last week, Manly, with so much to play for.
everything to play for, and they were very poor.
Yes.
Even without Luai and Kenny, I think Penrith are just. Can anyone beat them?
No one can beat. If Penrith are anywhere near 100% on grand final day, no one can beat them. They would need to be off, and the team that they're playing against needs to be bang on if they're any chance of being toppled.
I beg to differ. I think the Broncos are a sneaky hope.
I think, but they're only a hope, Buzz, if Brisbane are at 100% and Penrith are at 85%.
I disagree with you.
If they're both are at
I
100,
disagree with you. Maybe if they're both at 100, but you've got Walsh, Staggs, Farnworth, Cobbo, Mam, Reynolds, Flegler, Haas, Ricky, Carrigan, keep going.
yeah, they're the most likely. They are the most likely.
They can beat Penrith.
I think they're the most likely to beat Penrith, but I think if they're both at their best, Penrith could even blow them away. Penrith are that good at the moment.
And given the way they are sitting 1 and 2 on the ladder, both expected to play home finals, which means the Broncos don't have to travel until
huge.
grand final day if they win. And I know recent history is hard to gauge because the Broncos have been up and down over the last few years, but travelling up to Brisbane to take on the Broncos in a final, Buzz, that's
a full house.
tough ask in front of 50,000. Yeah.
Yeah, and these guys, you watch the Matildas play and they don't get nervy or, they're not relaxed, but they're
just in control.
Yeah, and I think this Broncos side's exciting, and I don't think they're going to melt under finals pressure.
It's the unknown with Brisbane, though, and we know what Penrith can produce. Penrith are a known quantity, and I think even with an injury to any of their players, I think Penrith can cover for it.
I tell you what would be an interesting thing, and I can't think off my top of the head, but how many Broncos players would make the Penrith side would be an interesting exercise. Walsh or Edwards,
Yeah.
But if you had to choose one, which would you go? And I'd probably go Walsh.
Yeah.
But Edwards is an outstanding, reigning, Churchill medal winner.
He just fits their style, though, doesn't he, so much? I wonder
Walsh?
the Edwards, sorry. So, Walsh is so much a bit more of a playmaker, and he's more pivotal in that attack for the Broncos, isn't he? When he gets outside of Reynolds, and
He's just got a little bit more X factor.
Yeah.
Reece Walsh, but that's not downplaying what Dylan Edwards has been able to produce for the last couple of
What
years.
about Carrigan versus Isaiah? I hope we get that grand final. I really do. What we've seen so far, they deserve it, don't they?
Even the hookers. I know Mitch Kenny's not playing, but you got Mitch Kenny v Billy Walters.
Yeah.
You
know
what I mean?
what? I thought Billy Walters was a nepotism, sort of hint of nepotism when they signed him and kept a spot open for him. He has so proved me and a lot of other people wrong. He's had a terrific season.
Well, Mitch Kenny's done very similar, hasn't he? Because he's taken a little while to adjust to the a largely 80-minute role. Obviously, they've got Sonny Luke there as well, but with Coruscant leaving, and he's really found his feet, I think, towards the back end of the season, and that's such a bonus for the Panthers. So, yeah, I find they're going to be hard to beat as a 1-2, but as long as they keep each other going, here's a question for you. Coming to the last round, if they're both on equal points, are they going to look to rest players, or are they going to fight for this minor premiership?
I heard Kevy Walters interviewed on the weekend. He said they're not resting anyone.
Right.
So they've got a bye. Is it next week? The Broncos.
They'd be mad if they didn't rest Reynolds.
Broncos have a bye next week.
They do have a bye left. When it is, I'm not sure.
So, yeah, that's. But there's a difference between mass resting and then if there's a niggle, well, you're going to rest them.
Yeah.
So you're not taking any risk in that last round, and we've seen Penrith do it for the last couple of years. So Penrith played North Queensland in that last game, and North Queensland, it's going to be a pivotal game for them, considering what's happened with them over the last couple of weeks. So the interesting thing will be if they're both vying for the minor premiership, the Broncos and Panthers, how much importance they put on that.
Yeah.
What's it worth? $100,000?
$100,000. Yeah.
To go up. Fletcher's been campaigning for it to go up.
It should go up. It was silly money.
Yeah.
It's funny they don't have prize money for where you finish on the ladder or anything like that. You know? Gives you
particularly someone like Peter Volandis who does the Everest, and you get so many million for first, so many million. You
get paid down to 10th or whatever it is. Yeah. Mick, you had a yarn today around Seagulls denying salary cap issues at the club. What's going on?
Yeah, so obviously there's been a little bit of innuendo. I'm sure you would have heard it buzz in and around league circles, the fact that some clubs have been waiting for Manly to tap some blokes on the shoulder and say you're free to go because of their tight salary cap situation. I spoke with CEO Tony Mestroff yesterday, and he said that's false, simply false, and hit out at suggestions and said unlike some other clubs, they manage their cap really, really well. But there will be, I still expect one or two players potentially to leave Manly at the end of the season that are contracted. but Mestra have indicated that will be for roster balance and depth rather than forcing players out because of salary cap compliance.
I think there's entitled to be discussions around this cap in that Turbo, his brother Jake, and Cherry Evans are $1 million plus, are they?
I think DC might drop below $1 million next year, Buzz, but his contract definitely comes down next year.
Well, they'd average out at $1 million a head, right? So
Not his new deal.
No, the three of them.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Right,
Yes,
would average out at $3 million.
Agree with that. Yeah.
They had to pay huge money to keep Tolu Koala. Josh Schuster, 800,000.
Yeah, 800
right,
large.
for an edge forward.
Yeah.
Ola Kawatu, I think he's an interesting one. I think he was on 500 for 3 years. And then he was shitty at the start of this year. And then his manager, Mario Tartak. So they got bumped up to about 750, 800 this year, Mick. But the next 2 years of his threat haven't been dealt with and haven't. And there's been a couple of rumours that, he might be.
Yep, I've heard them. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that other clubs are... he'd be the one other clubs are circling. The fact that, you're right, Buzz, he got a pay increase for this year and it goes down next year based on that.
Yeah. But Manly said they'd come back.
Yeah.
We'll fix this year and let's talk.
Yeah.
So they got...
Has he lived up to that price tag this season?
Ola Kawatu started off sensational. Thought he was a certainty for Origin, but has dropped off since. Going okay. Rating probably his season a 7. Fair comment?
Yeah, I can't argue with that, Buzzy.
Is that good enough for that kind of salary to be? I mean, that's the way we are at the moment.
Potential too, Mobs. It's potential. He's a wrecking machine. Tear away when he's right.
That's the issue with Manly, right? They're paying Schuster, Olakawatu, Kula, all these guys who have enormous upside.
Yeah.
Right, but they need them now to get close or exceed what their value is. Otherwise, they're not going to make the top 8 again next year.
No.
And especially when you've got the 3 guys who average out $1 million a season.
Yeah, yeah. And you look at other edge forwards, Kolomatangi, Liam Martin. Haven't seen much of Billy Kickow. Who are the other top
Feeder.
edge? Yeah, Dave Fafita. He's not at that level at the moment.
Agreed. Agreed. He's shown that he could get there, but...
Liam Martin's best second row forward in this game, in my view. I put him 12th in my top 50 at the start of the year. And a lot of people had a whack at me about it, saying he was too high. I'm a massive fan.
Yeah.
Well, he can belt people.
Yeah.
He can do everything.
He had a big Origin series, didn't he?
Yeah. He had a great season.
Next, Mobbsy, what's up?
What's going
What
on?
are we doing?
Well, the question here is the other one I had for you. Warren McDonald. What a sliding doors moment. I mean, switching places, training places. So Scott Fulton gets poached by the Tigers to go and head up recruitment over there from Manly without being told, without the word of Tim Sheens knowing or Benji Marshall. Warren McDonald, who was there, quits his post or is moved on. And
Leaves the club,
now potentially popping up over at Manly.
Yeah, it looks likely that Warren McDonald will be at the Seagulls. The deal's not done yet, but it's tracking in that direction that he'll work with Peter Gentle and head up their recruitment next year, which is interesting because obviously swap places, a lot of bad blood between the Tigers and Manly at the moment. And there was always this fear that once Scott Fulton got to the Tigers that a few Manly players would follow him. We've seen the young Farnus leave for the Tigers next year and, potentially some others.
Why do they want Warren McDonald?
Well,
I'm asking you.
not a fan, Buzz?
Well, he didn't do much of a job at the West Tigers.
Their recruits this year were fine.
Did he? So I think you'll find Madge
Madge
signed.
had a hand in a lot of them initially, yeah.
I just found a lot of hit and misses with his recruitment at the West Tigers. Before that, he was at the Bulldogs, and they've struggled for years. I just don't see what possibly Manly could get out of it. I don't see an upside. That's just my view.
With all the geographic feuds and historical feuds we have in rugby league, who knew that the Seagulls and Tigers would give us another one on the back of this season? This has been great.
Yeah, but they come out of nowhere feuds, don't they?
Yeah, they do indeed.
Yeah, I've had a friggin' lifetime of them. So,
Got any going at the back? No.
I've had a satisfactory year as far as fallouts go.
Yeah.
What do you budget for, Buzzy? A year?
Yeah, look at you sitting here smirking at it all. You're one of these blokes as editorial director of Rugby League who has been known to load the bullets but get your staff to fire them.
Tell you what.
Tell you what.
I'll tell you, Mick, you'll notice Buzz and I collaborated on a project this week around...
I saw the joint byline.
He actually saved my ass.
Oh, wow.
Saved my ass. I
Do we
was
have to
given...
bleep that?
No, of course we don't.
Okay, sorry.
Mate, it's a podcast.
Oh, okay,
Different
so
demographic.
Just do what you want.
We're not a family newspaper here.
Okay, fair enough.
We're a fun podcast. 80% gibber, 20% league.
Yep.
The NRL gave me some stats,
Yeah.
which I took as gospel,
Okay.
seeing though it came from the head body,
Yeah.
which my friend Adam, being this micro, he loves doing this forensic.
I'm a narc when he doesn't like it.
Loading guns. He saved me.
Okay, wow.
The
There you
figures
go.
were horribly inaccurate.
But in saying that, it's the kind of piece of journalism that I think I might have been used as more of a human shield than as a, than side by side. It might be. Are you having discussions with clubs who might not be happy with this and you say, oh, look, mate, it wasn't me. I'm as disappointed as you are.
Well,
It's the other guy's name on the
I'd
byline.
rather not comment. I think it's... Yeah.
Very interesting, though, Buzz. I'll tell you what, the Brisbane Broncos, from wooden spooners to where they are now on the field, but off the field, just off the charts, aren't
Isn't
they?
it great?
My goodness.
And you know what I put it down to, Michael? Are you listening or are you
I am
texting?
listening. I am listening. And
I put it down to competition and the fact the Redcliffe Dolphins have emerged as a really, really decent footy club. And Dave Donaghy admitted to me that it forced the Broncos to sharpen their game and get better in different areas. That he's only been there a couple of years, and the Broncos have.
Can I just give a shout out to the Broncos? They we on the ABC every Sunday we've got a young fella called Christopher who does a weekly spot, and he's had the most horrendous health issues, right? But he's just the most positive footy fan you'll ever meet. It's totally across everything. Brisbane treated him to the game on the weekend, took him in the dressing sheds, let him run out with the side, sat him on the bench, did interviews, and just really the impact that they had on Christopher is a testament to the club and what the game can do. That there's a lot of knockers, and we knock a lot of people all the time, but the efforts that they did, the players went above and beyond what they needed to do to give this young kid a moment that he'll never forget.
It's terrific, mate. They are really a community-minded club now. I know they're enormous and they pack their joint every week, but they are community-minded and helping this young fella, and I think you'll find they do a lot more of that. They never advertise it. They're a great organisation.
And it starts with guys like Kevin Walters, because you saw with Reece Walsh, his performance last weekend on the back of losing a loved one. He lost an uncle.
Yeah.
And saw on social media, that he put a post up, Reece Walsh, sort of commemorating his family member. And to a man, all his teammates in there supporting him. We've got you, showing their support. And they're a happy, tight-knit bunch. Which
That's what I'm saying. They're an outside hope of winning the title.
It's a remarkable story if they do, considering their last couple of years.
Oh, wooden spooners in 2020.
And their fade out
Last year.
And the uncertainty around Kevy. And
I did speak to some Parramatta officials this week and asked if they could maybe put in a little map around the Gabba where poker machines might be located to see if we can't try and throw them off their game ahead of playing the Eels from that finals game a few years ago. But they're exceptionally tough to beat. The other teams in our health check, Buzz, the Bulldogs. They got a lot going for them off the field if they can get it all together.
Yeah, they're much stronger off the field in recent years than they have been on. They've got great social media numbers across TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and they've got nice crowds. I think they average 19,000 or something like that. And that's where they've got a huge advantage over the suburban clubs, that they can sell more corporates, they can fit more fans in, and almost double the Sharks' average attendance. So if Gus and Cameron Serraldo can get this football side winning and winning regularly, they're going to get enormous growth in all those areas, and they could become a powerhouse.
Are you concerned for the clubs who play out of the smaller stadiums and have fewer corporate facilities about bringing money into the place? Because I know broadcast rights deals pay for a lot of things, but you've got to be generating money somewhere else.
Well, you do, Mick, and I look at it this way. The suburban clubs, I'm not worried about them this year, next year, the year after. I'm worried about them in 20 years. And to compete with what we've spoken about with the Broncos, the Townsville Stadium, the new stadium that's going up at Penrith, Combank Stadium, Allianz Stadium where the Roosters are. Mick, I don't,
Well, Cronulla's in a difficult situation at the moment because their stadium's getting redeveloped, right? So what's their capacity?
It's only going to go to about 15,000.
12
right?
at the moment.
So that's why their crowds are.
So where do you entertain corporates there?
Well, I think, Buzz, crowd numbers. So you've got Cronulla's an exception, right? I think at the moment because of things that are going on. You've got the Dragons and the Tigers. If they played at another stadium, it wouldn't matter because they're going like busted, so no one goes to watch them. Regardless of the shiny brand new stadium that you've got, if your club is struggling, no one's going to go. That new stadium will wear out. And if Parramatta was sitting in bottom 2, they'd get 8,000 at a game.
Yeah, but the Bulldogs are going okay.
Okay, well, St George do come good, right?
Yeah.
Where do you entertain your corporates at Cog Oval? On the hill? but I'm talking. It's town. Have you been to Townsville?
I haven't been to the new stadium.
Mate, it's the most magnificent. So's Combank. So's Allianz.
So what do you want? You want to ditch suburban grounds?
No, I don't want to ditch suburban grounds. I just wish the government, when they sort out schools and hospitals, come to the table and work out how to. These clubs can, even if Venues New South Wales run them, and Cronulla got to hand over a 100-year lease to the government to be in charge of. But fans in the Shire deserve a venue like the new Penrith one.
Well, this is what flows into...
You can't compete long-term, mate.
And this is what with what the Matildas are doing at the moment, that there's all this talk about a public holiday if they make the final of the World Cup. And as Melissa Barbieri, the former the Matildas goalkeeper said, don't worry about the public holiday. Let's get proper funding for women's sport in this. And so... A-League teams, W-League or A-League women's teams are all well funded enough, all have the facilities. So, yeah, and not everyone's going to get a ground, are they? Because, seriously, how much money are we going to have to put into places like Leichhardt and Cogra to really get them up to proper standard?
Yeah, I just go back to the fact that if your club's winning, it doesn't matter about the ground. People will go and pack it out.
Look at Penrith Stadium. They're at Bluebet. They're 18,000 crowd,
and they're in there so early. They play 3 grades generally, and they're in there early, and it's buzzing. And
they got 2 hills. They got massive lineups for drinks and everything. But 18, I think it'd be about a 90% clearance rate, wouldn't it? 18,000 something out of 22.5 capacity. It's
and
massive.
You look at some of like the Dragons and the Roosters. Their crowds are skewed by the fact that whoever hosts Anzac Day.
Yes. Anzac Day and the...
I thought they shared it now.
No, they wrote... No, they don't. They might... I'm talking about the average crowd numbers, though.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And the Dogs, if they host Easter... Is it Easter Monday?
Good Friday.
The Good Friday clash.
Good Friday.
So that's all... That all has a bearing as well in terms of the final crowd numbers.
And South and the Roosters got, 40,000 at Allianz in round 3?
Yeah.
So
there's a bit of that, but as I said, if the Dragons were flying, they'd be packing out Cogra every week and Wollongong every week, or Tigers were flying, they'd be getting 15,000 when they took games outside of Leichhardt. So fundamentally, it all comes down to wins and losses, Buzz.
Yeah.
True.
Speaking of wins and losses, South Sydney, were we just hyping them up without credibility recently? They've won 4 of their last 11. Their performance against Cronulla last week was rubbish.
Yep.
And you can talk about the preparation over in Perth or whatever else. Hey, Cronulla did the same thing.
Yeah.
For a team that we've tipped to go and make a run from where they are, that could be a costly loss because
bad loss.
You look at this. They play the Sydney Roosters in a few weeks, who will revel in the opportunity to play spoiler.
Well, I think as recently as 2 weeks ago, I had them in my top 4 South, but I think it's no.
Good luck.
I don't think that's a chance. No, I don't think it's a chance now. I don't think there was a false economy at the start of the year of South Sydney. I thought they were generally red hot, and you got the sense that they'd probably start the best out of any side because they had the least amount of disruption.
Changes,
amount of changes. You know, Penrith had a fair few changes in key personnel dropping out and players unavailable and the like. But there's something about South for me that I still think they can go on a run and challenge.
Because even that, I mean, before that game against the Tigers 2 weeks ago, that wasn't great. They only put them to bed late.
Yeah, I was there. I was at that game, and it was a decent performance. And when you go, okay, there was glimpses of, okay, well, they're getting back to where they could or they should go. But they were really bad against a really good Cronulla side on the weekend. But have you seen that Dragons lineup? They should put 50 on them.
I watched the Eels-Dragons game last weekend, so I was...
It's worse this week. The Dragons lineup's worse this week. No Lomax. Jack Bird's injured as well. It's an unrecognisable lineup against that South Sydney side, and if South Sydney are dead set, they should put them to the sword. Yeah.
Your Sharkies, Buzz, back with the bang, or are you still cautious? That was...
still a
great
little
performance.
Bit cautious. So we got 6 o'clock Friday, right? Titans.
Yeah.
I think the Sharks will beat the Titans. I think the Sharks, when I did my calculations and thought the Sharks would finish 9th, I didn't have them beating South. So
changes everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And it was a really, really good sign. I loved Nico Hines' interview during the week and taking ownership of the way he'd performed since State of Origin. Wade Graham, I applaud his decision to retire at the end of the season. I've seen so many players bat on too long, and which to the detriment of the football side, and the Cronulla will now be able to bring a younger body through and look for a new edge forward, but he announced it with a lot of class this week.
One thing on that. The internet's undefeated on this one. Do you see the amount of comments about him wearing shorts to yet another official event? A little
shorts and thongs.
A little veiled jab at him. His Asada interview a few years ago.
But he's a casual
I know,
dude, you know?
He's a good guy. He's a bit of a throwback, Buzz.
Yeah, he is.
You can't get away with anything on the internet, can you?
And at his best, he was a sensational player too.
Oh yeah.
But he's done this. He came into NRL with such high expectations and pressure on him anyway, because he was a schoolboy prodigy at Penrith, a big 5'8". There was Patrician Brothers, Blacktown kid. So he's had that expectation on him his entire career. Yeah. He's won premierships. He's been an Origin star. He's represented his country. He's done everything. And the off-field stuff with going through that the stuff with Asada at Cronulla, it's a lot that would have probably broken a lesser man.
Sure.
And he's going to fall agonisingly short of 300 games.
The suspension's going to cost him.
Yeah, but
it's interesting in the middle of winter though, the shorts.
And
so this would suggest in retirement he's not going to have an administrative career. You can't see him in too many boardrooms. But my goodness, he'll be a good media talent.
Yeah, he's good guy. He's good. And at his best,
your joint might need a freshen up.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
No, let's not go there.
What do you mean? Don't go there. No. I'm just saying you might need a freshen up. Yeah. But I'm an agenda-driven clown, apparently. Someone told me.
Anyway,
sorry, Michael. I know you don't want to get in between that.
I don't get involved in that. I'm straight as.
Yeah.
But no, Wade Graham at his best, he was one of my favourite players to watch. He's not a big guy. He's whack and his ball skill. It was amazing. And as you mentioned, for a child prodigy, they don't usually live up to the hype, or they come in with ego and some bravado. None of that with Wade. He ticked every box, achieved everything, and has done it while carrying himself amazingly well.
Degree of class,
he's one of my favourites to watch and to deal with over the time.
Right, speaking of favourites, let's get into listener questions, because we've got some good ones Some great questions
I
this
don't know what
week.
his second
Oh,
one
no, I
is.
was just writing down some notes of guys from the South Island.
Oh, okay. I was
I
I
like,
haven't
haven't
get to
signed
that.
off on these listener questions.
well, I do
but
send them to you. Do you ever read them? Or
I was busy yesterday.
oh, sorry, mate. Bring on September already with NRL. Which NRL franchise should get moved to Perth to allow a second one in New Zealand? South Island has deep, rich rugby league heritage that is untapped.
Yeah, I was looking at a lot of the players and where they're from, the Kiwi guys. There's not a lot from the South Island. I was looking around. The Burnham club's got Jazz Tavanga and Siwa Wong coming through the ranks there. But given how well the Warriors are going, and that Tigers game this weekend in Hamilton, is it Hamilton? Where are they playing this week? Yeah, a sellout as well, Buzz. Tell you what, rugby league's doing pretty well over there at the moment.
I don't want to move any NRL franchise, Mick.
I don't think there's going to be a need to. I think we'll get to 20 teams eventually. 18 PNG, 19 Perth, 20 New Zealand. Or Pacifica.
What about East in Brisbane?
Whether they can align themselves with a bid, I'm not sure. I know they've been spruiking this week to people, but I'm not sure. I still think PNG is a front runner for 18. I think there is an appetite, particularly from the WA government, and we're seeing what influence a federal
You've been
government
writing a
can
lot
have.
of stories about this Perth thing. You've sort of jumped in on me here. I wrote the original story, and you've just jumped in and taken that over. Every Sunday you've got
Fresh
an
legs,
update.
fresh legs.
Fresh legs, huh? All right.
Who's taking the next hit up?
Yeah.
No, I'm enjoying this. I love expansion.
You've taken
so-
ownership of that story, haven't you?
And the 20th side, I think there's an appetite for New Zealand with a dabble in.
Mick, I'm worried about 20 sides, and it's a debate for
Me
another
too.
day, but there is not talent for 20 sides.
There'll
I'm
be
sorry.
There'll be 20 sides, a conference of 10, and see where it goes.
I'm not confident, Mick. And maybe there are more players in New Zealand, maybe you're right, but I don't know how PNG's going to work myself either. I think Perth's a great spot, but
PNG will be all right.
yeah, I'm not so sure. Not so sure.
If they're based in Cairns, wherever they may be based in,
Yeah,
there'll
but
be
a
another-
PNG team in Cairns, it's not a PNG team. It's another fourth Queensland side.
Yeah, and I worry about teams like St George Illawarra and West Tigers, especially the Tigers, are a bit nomadic in that sense. And you look at what the demise of Super Rugby over the years when they took away locations and they were just the Lions and Tigers and Bears, oh my, and that kind of rubbish when you didn't know who
You're
was
off the
where.
pace with this one. You've done well with
The Dolphins
Perth,
have done
but lay
all
off PNG.
Dolphins have done it. Can we have the Perth Jets?
What's Wayne Bennett going to coach the next team and the one after?
Oh, no.
What do you think of his presser?
Unnecessary. I thought the journo handled it well.
Brilliant, the journo.
He doesn't handle losses
No.
or performances like that too well, does he,
No.
Wayne? Still, and he's human, but yeah, it wasn't the right
You're
thing.
sounding like Paul Crawley.
That was wrong, totally wrong. Not defending him, but
Crawl
anyways.
thought it was sweet. Hope he doesn't listen to this because he gets very angry, Crawls.
Of course.
Yeah.
Grant wants to know, mate, I think this is more of a statement.
It
Give
is.
Justin Pascoe some credit for a change. The only NRL CEO with the integrity to follow through on promises, to thank the New Zealand Warriors and the New Zealand fans for their COVID sacrifices, to bring a home game to New Zealand. So there you go, Grant, you've done that.
Pasco Fiasco, good on him. And I had a little shot on Monday at him and Lee Hadjipantalis playing golf on a Friday at Cabramatta. It turns out they were there helping the police academy. So good on them for getting out there and going above and beyond, Michael.
Great movie.
So stop bagging Justin Pascoe.
I'm not bagging. You flipped again. You're back on.
Great movie,
No,
Police
I-
Academy.
Yeah, it was a good. I've seen that movie.
Have you?
I haven't flipped. I never flip. I see things differently at times.
I never flip. Maddie, this is a good question. I like this question. Maddie wants to know, would you rather send a player to England with having the first option if and when they return to the NRL, or leave them in the Queensland New South Wales Cup? So take a
Good
player,
question.
go play in the English Super League with the option of bringing them back home.
Depends what age. If you had a young halfback, you might send them to England if you knew there was good setup, professional coaching, etc. Not a bad idea. Maybe do a swap. Maybe have a sister club in. You
Yeah.
can,
I like it. I like that prospect where they're exposed to week in, week out first grade and all things that come with that in terms of exposure and fans and pressure and broadcast and all that sort of stuff. I think there's scope for it, and we've seen players go over to the Super League at times and come back more rounded players.
Well, 2 names for you: Jackson Hastings,
Yeah.
Jack Cogger, and I think UK Super League as a result that would be fantastic. And I like the idea of the first option, because in European football they do a lot. You sell a player and you've got a buyback option, which is you sort of don't want to give up, but you want to it's kind of like a loan system in a way as well. So I don't mind that at all. Good question, Matty T.
Question.
I've got a. Oh, were you out of them?
No, you got a question for us?
No, I want to introduce a new segment.
All right. Chris wants to know, despite Canterbury's 6 years of poor results, how do they attract or always in discussions for elite players? They must be doing something right, surely.
It's definitely not Arthur Laundy pubs. So I found that out in no uncertain terms. Look, it's obviously Gus. Gus is a persuasive man and
very active.
yeah.
Very, very active.
Very close to all the agents, great mates there. No, he's
a lot of lunches, secret meetings.
he doesn't do lunch. He just keeps losing weight.
Connor wants to know, is it possible for Callum Ponga to win the Daily M? And Mobbsy, you've crunched some numbers for us here.
Hey, I tell you what, I like doing the research.
You
What
do.
about this? So after round 12, Callum Ponga, when you can get 6 votes a round.
Yep.
After 12 rounds, he had 6 votes.
Yeah.
So I think he's too far away. When
He's too
Payne
far
Haas is on 30, and despite it'd have
He
to.
hasn't been great though since.
Payne Haas?
Yeah.
Oh, he'll pick up points.
So you can rule
Yeah,
out.
but mate, Pong will pick up 6 every week.
Yeah,
No,
but
Well, can we rule out
he'll be
Nathan
on
Cleary
60
on
now
27?
potentially.
Nathan Cleary's out with injury. I think Nico Hines with
he's dropped.
form
Yeah.
dropped off. Latrell's missed 10 weeks.
Yeah, gone.
He's out on 23 points. So Reece Walsh was on 24. Harry Grant 25. Payne Haas 30.
And then
Then
the
you've-
bottom two there, Mobbsy, the mine.
Dylan Edwards, Sean Johnson, both on 22.
Yeah, Sean Johnson, very hard to beat, but throw Ponga into your trifectas, Michael.
I like Haas and Johnson.
He's going to have to do better than Chautauqua at Royal Randwick in the TJ Smith.
That's
to come
what I was
from
gonna
that
Don't
far back.
care.
I was going to
I
say the
just
same
said
thing,
in 10
Mobbsy.
games he can get 60 points. And that's how dominant he's been.
Chautauqua, one of the greats.
Yes.
What are we talking about?
Some horse. I think.
Third TJ Smith.
Not late career Chautauqua that refused to leave the gates.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
one
that
that,
one, yeah.
that was.
Dinner.
But don't you have a new segment?
Oh, well, I'm going to do Dally M points at the end of each podcast.
For us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So you get
And then-
6, and what do we get?
And how are you going to do it?
I get 6. Yeah, this week. Yeah.
Okay. And?
I'll take 5. I'll give Mobbsy 1 and you get nothing, all right?
It's a bit harsh.
Jeez.
Why?
What did I deserve a duck egg for?
All right, 4-1-1.
4-1-1.
Why do I get the same as him?
Hey?
Anyway.
Dinner plans?
I have none.
Oh, yeah.
What
All
are
right.
the options, Buzz?
Too busy working on that segment.
Yeah.
I've had to take
Went
away.
so well.
Yeah, that segment shan't be back, by the way.
Right, the Dally
Unless
M's.
we can get the listeners to give us 3, 2, 1s.
Well, why don't we do that?
Well, we can do that.
Because I've got a very
Do
shallow
a
ego.
poll.
That's
When you
why.
tweet it, do a poll. Who was best on the ground?
No worries.
Don't
You've
embarrass
got more
yourself.
followers, though, so you do it.
Doesn't matter. More haters, than more followers.
I've been using the mute button the last couple of days for the first time.
Yeah. I don't know about dinner. Can I pass today? I might throw something on the barbie.
Yeah, well,
I'm a brookie, so
geez, dinner segment's fallen
I
flat
know.
too this
Yeah,
week.
I'm a brookie.
We
so-
need to
Well,
have some
liven it up.
pre-podcast meetings. Well, it's me and the young bloke are home alone, so
Again?
yeah. Wife and daughter are up in Queensland for
Oh,
a few days.
Nice.
Beautiful.
So is that when
Is your marriage okay? Your wife's either on a cruise or in Queensland without you.
Listen, you got to give them a little bit of freedom, otherwise they don't handle captivity too well. So,
Sorry,
good marriage tip,
I'll,
Mick.
I'll withdraw that question.
you just got 6 Dalian points?
I do wonder why I get left home a lot though. So, but no, I might leave it up to the young bloke, give him a choice. So
Takeaway?
Yeah,
Yeah, whenever Mum, the rare time Mum would leave us with Dad, because it was always takeaway.
Yeah, I know Elena's a bit young, but wait till you use the phrase "don't tell your mother." It comes in very handy.
Never.
Righto.
All right, guys.
Thank you very much for that. We'll see you again on Monday for the A-Team podcast, and we're back with the B squad next Thursday.